Shalom. Welcome. My name is Eli Bialik. I am the community advisor at Nefesh B'Nefesh. And we are here with another wonderful webinar, a community discussion about Beit Shemesh, Ramat Beit Shemesh. We are thrilled to offer these programs to our Olim, our prospective Olim, to help you with your Aliyah planning, especially now that it is virtually impossible to come to Israel on a pilot trip during the COVID period. So we are thrilled to be able to provide you with information and to introduce you to people who live in the community who are excited to share of their experience and to let you know why they love their city, why they love Beit Shemesh. So what I'd like to mention is the webinar will be conducted is that for the first 25 minutes or so, we will be having a presentation. Miriam Fain, who is the project coordinator from the Beit Shemesh Municipality Klita Department, will be talking about Beit Shemesh, and then we'll hear from our other participants in the webinar. And then after that, we will be having some Q&A. So any questions that you'll have, we'll be able to address at the end. We will not be able to address all of the questions. We will try to address the most relevant questions to the best of our ability. We will be sharing our contact information, and you'll be getting an email with a recording of this webinar in the next day or so. So feel free to ask us questions also later on through email. What I wanted to mention is that if you are looking at the potential of making Aliyah within the next 8 to 10 months, and you have not yet submitted an Aliyah application, I want to invite you to go to the NBN website, nbn.org.il, and to submit an Aliyah application. This is probably one of the most exciting webinars that I have participated in because I love the city that I live in. I've been living in Beit Shemesh for 22 years. I live in Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to the wonderful people of Beit Shemesh. Miriam Fain is the project coordinator specializing in special needs OLED children. She works at the Klita department of the Beit Shemesh municipality, and she made Aliyah 24 years ago, and she's been living in Beit Shemesh for the last 18 years. Also, just joining our Zoom webinar is Chani Newman, who moved to Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph from Far Rockaway, New York, 3.5 years ago. We also have Orly Vahava. Orly made Aliyah from Brooklyn in July 2014. And we have Kenny. Kenny joined. Kenny Pollack, yes, shalom. Kenny joined us in Cleveland, from Cleveland, I'm sorry, in 2019, originally from Los Angeles, but he made Aliyah at the end from Cleveland, and we hope to hold on to Kenny in Beit Shemesh as long as we can. And also we have Rachel joining us. Rachel Cohen is also from the municipality, the Aliyah department, and we look forward to hearing from everybody. So Miriam, can you please introduce us to this wonderful city of Beit Shemesh, and also to explain what's the difference between Beit Shemesh and Ramat Beit Shemesh? People seem to be using it interchangeably.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say shalom, and I'm going to say that it's quite an honor to be in this, in Hebrew you say ma'amad, in this position that I'm talking to families that are thinking about coming to Beit Shemesh. As Ellie said, I have been living here for 18 years, and I actually, I was married to a resident from Old Beit Shemesh, which is very different from Ramat Beit Shemesh. But over the years, I kind of got to know all the areas, and to really fall in love with this. It's kind of like Israel in one town, because you have Ethiopians and you have Russians and you have Moroccans and you have Yemenites, and it's like it's kibbutz galiot. It's basically the whole story of the Aliyah, all in one town, ranging from very secular to ultra orthodox, which I'm sure many have followed on news reports. But that's a group. I can say also that Beit Shemesh has the advantage of being in the middle, meaning you are literally a bus ride away from Tel Aviv, which can, if I don't have a car, I don't drive, so I'm very dependent on the bus system. I can say that literally every 20 minutes I have a bus to Jerusalem or to Tel Aviv, and if there's no traffic, it can be a 45 to 50-minute ride, which is also very good, because that means that the unemployment here is at a low rate, because people can go. It's so convenient. You have trains also constantly going to Tel Aviv or to Jerusalem. So it's really easy for anybody who can't find a job in the Beit Shemesh area. You can immediately go, to Tel Aviv or to Jerusalem. There are many advantages of also living here. I would say that because Beit Shemesh is, in Hebrew, you say Ir shekoletet aliyah. It's a city that absorbs olim, but not only that. I mean, that's just like kind of a very general sentence. In reality, it means that in the schools there are very, very specified Ulpan programs that there's none other like in the rest of the country. We have programs. We have an Ulpan system here. Rachel will later tell you about it, but this is the place that Beit Shemesh is the city that has that program. I can also say the service that I do, that I assist families with special needs, children in the school system, ensuring that they get all their rights. There is no other city that gets that gives this kind of service. The schools all understand the needs of Olim children. So if you're a family and you're coming and you have children, I would assume that the first thing that's very important is community, support, a good, strong system that the children don't feel like they're lost in the Israeli system. So here children come and they can often hear English, during the break, and the teachers know how to communicate with the children, and they understand and they're sensitive to the issues that Olim children have. I will also say that what our department does, the Klita department, we assist Olim. Even before you come, we're already in touch with many of the families. We can help with anything from registration to Ganim, to the school system, to once you're here to make sure if you have any problems with Arnona or any other kind of, bureaucratic headache. So our department gives that service to also assist. It's also a city that can, what's so unique here is that because there's the ultra Orthodox, the secular, the Orthodox, the modern, the Dati Leumi, there's so many sectors. In America, it doesn't, it's hard for an American maybe to understand, but here it's broken up. The whole religious world is broken up into 1,000 little groups. And here in Beit Shemesh, they're able to answer to those needs. And there's different kinds of schools here. It's not that it's black and white and it's either this school or that school. Because there's so many sectors, there's also so many schools that can answer to those needs. I'm also going to say one more note, that when you are looking for schools, to make sure that it's a school that gets the funds for the Ulpans and for the assistance, because a lot of times, because the way the system works here, there's public schools, and then there's the Dati Leumi, and then there's the Haredi. And sometimes there are Haredi schools that aren't in that group of schools that get the kind of funding for Ulpans. And that's why when you're looking for a school, you should definitely make sure that it's a school that's mamlachti, that's considered public. Also in areas.
I just wanted to add on that there are Haredi schools that offer
Correct. Right.
assistance, but you may need to pay for that. Many times they're highly subsidized, but you will still need to pay partially out of pocket.
I'm also going to, I mean, before we had Corona, so families would really come for pilot trips. And it makes it a lot more, in a way complicated that now families can come to pilot, you don't come for a pilot trip. And it's kind of just hearing from people that live here, or seeing videos or whatever. It's not the same as an actual pilot trip. So what we are trying to do is trying to give you a feel of what it is to live here. I'm going to also say that, I'm sorry, I don't want to forget. Beit Shemesh is also an area that's surrounded by national parks and sites. So it makes it a much more pleasant and more beautiful. I can say that even just taking your kids to school or just randomly going to the supermarket, you can look around you and you just have these hills and green trees, and it makes the whole, it just gives it like a finishing effect to what it is to live in a Ramat Beit Shemesh. I know that everyone in our department, it's me and another 4 staff members, would be very, very happy to assist any Olim that have questions. You can contact us through emails, and we're here to.
Thank you very much, Miriam. So I'd like just to add on what you had mentioned about the beautiful green spaces around Beit Shemesh. It's not only do you feel that you're living surrounded by nature, but it's also surrounded by Jewish history and by Tanakh, and you have places that which are just so significant. For example, Emek Ha'elah is right behind Ramat Beit Shemesh, and that's where the battle between David and Goliath took place. We have Tel Shemesh, where the Ark of the Covenant, the Aron HaBrit, was there during a certain period of time also. So there's just so much history that is in Beit Shemesh, and you can really feel connected, as a Jew, to your surroundings and your beautiful surroundings with nature. What I would love now is for us to learn from our community representatives. So I am going to ask from Khani. Khani, if you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your Aliyah experience, and why Beit Shemesh is a place that you think that is good for Olim.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Welcome, everybody. My family moved here to Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph 3.5 years ago, as mentioned, from Far Rockaway, New York. And we were looking for somewhere central to the country. Both we have relatives central to the country, also in terms of job access, as was mentioned, and also safety. Honestly, I was nervous making Aliyah. I was kind of scared of the security situation. I was really scared, actually, about the security situation. And Ramat Beit Shemesh was definitely fit the bill for those. Additionally, my husband was looking for something with more English accessibility. His Hebrew is not so great. And also we were looking, there's a lot of building going on. Maybe you've heard of all these new neighborhoods that are being built as part of the city of Beit Shemesh. And it was just more accessible and affordable to find something we actually bought on paper a number of years before we made Aliyah. And we heard about the type of people who are buying there, and it sounded like a good fit for us. And other people, it's in general, the people who we heard of who live here seemed like they were a good match for us, even though there's a variety, which we liked. We very much liked knowing that there were different types of people, but a very large contingent of people that we could relate to as Anglos and religious in our religious outlook. So we moved here, and actually what we bought on paper wasn't ready yet, so we rented in a little bit of a different area, one of the areas that's more settled, not one of the newer areas. And we just found everyone here was so welcoming. It was just unbelievable how friendly everybody is. And there's so much chesed in the community, a lot of chesed organizations, as in individuals, really down to earth people who we could relate to and get to know. And one of the things that the Mishrat Klitza really helped us with was actually before we made Aliyah, about a year before we made Aliyah, we have a couple of kids who have different needs, whether it be health needs and allergies or therapies in schools. And we reached out a year before making Aliyah actually, and they helped us work through all the bureaucracy ahead of time. So that by the time we got here, we already had our rights and things were in place. And we had one of our kids needed a shadow, that was in place. We had our therapies we could start without too much delay. And it made a really, really big difference for us that people really walked us through the process and did the legwork for us when we were in America, so that by the time we got here, we really got what we needed for our kids. So that was a really big deal. The little pond that Rachel Cohen runs beautifully. My daughter's really benefited from a lot, both educationally and also socially, as kind of an ease in before they're in a Hebrew speaking classroom with Hebrew speaking peers. They were able to have a smaller group of kids who are like they were, who they could get to know. And also as a parent, I got to know some of the parents from the group. It really helped us feel comfortable as knowing that there were people like us in the school and in the neighborhood that helped me as well as my kids. We had some, typical challenges that probably a lot of people go through with figuring out Hebrew and the legal work and the bills and different things. And there's actually more organizational support for that now, even than 3.5 years ago. It's tremendous because more and more Olim are moving to the neighborhood and to the city. There's more support. Everyone's like, oh, I know about this. I know the challenges. Let me help more people. And there's just constantly more support systems and WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups popping up. So networking both virtually and in person has helped us also a lot. What else? Let's see. I also volunteer for a local chesed organization called Leman Chai, which is not officially tied to Nefesh B'Nefesh, but we are in touch with the Nefesh B'Nefesh because we have a welcoming committee that's local that I am the head of. So I do welcome and invite all of you. Mir Tashem, you should all come here. Please be in touch with me personally. And I'm happy to get you in touch with us to get to know people in the community and get to know local resources.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think that you said it so eloquently as far as the services and the chesed and everything that is available for Olim to come to Beit Shemesh. And I just wanted you to know that from a professional perspective, and I work with communities throughout Israel, Beit Shemesh is just absolutely incredible as far as the wealth of services and the depth of services. It's just it's something where you really can't find in any other community in Israel, and it really also helps to giving us a sense of community. What I'd also like just to talk about briefly is the names of the different neighborhoods where some of our Olim are living in. Okay, so we have Olim in Beit Shemesh in the Scheinfeld neighborhood. We have Olim in the Nofei Aviv neighborhood. There is also Nofei Hashemesh and Givat Sharet. Those neighborhoods are part of mostly that is part of what's called Beit Shemesh Vatika, the older part of Beit Shemesh. Then there is Ramat Beit Shemesh. Ramat Beit Shemesh has Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, which is the oldest part of Ramat Beit Shemesh. Ramat Beit Shemesh Bet is primarily a Hasidic community, and we have some Olim there, but not a lot of Olim. We have many more Olim who are in Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, and then we have around Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, there are new neighborhoods such as Mem Shalosh, Mishkafayim, and Ramat Shiloh, which are actually extensions of Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, and then there is Ramat Beit Shemesh Gimel. Okay, there is Gimel Echad and Gimel Shtaim, and then there's even Ramat Beit Shemesh Dalid and Ramat Beit Shemesh Hey, which is Neve Shamir. So there are a lot of different neighborhoods where we have Olim going to. And I'd like to now to ask Orly, please to introduce yourself and to tell us a little bit about your Aliyah journey and why you think the Ramat Beit Shemesh or Beit Shemesh is a place for Olim from North America.
Hi everybody. I hope Bemet that we get to meet you all when you all make Aliyah here. My name's Orly, and I made Aliyah almost 7 years ago, also during a very, very difficult time. We made Aliyah during Tzuk Eitan in July 2014, And when we arrived in the airport, we had a siren. So we had to run straight into the miklat. That was our Kabbalat Panim. That was our welcome here to Israel. And I'll never forget the people from Nefesh B'Nefesh, Miriam Naaman, who said, grab your children and just run to the miklat. And it was such a crazy time. We didn't have, our apartment wasn't ready yet, but Nefesh B'Nefesh helped us so much. We were supposed to go to friends in the South. And because of what happened, they just set us up with families in Ramat Beit Shemesh, which was incredible because here we were coming with 5 kids. At that time, my kids were aging, their age ranges were from 11 to 3. We have since had another kid, our first Sabra here. But people just welcomed us and took us in. And it was incredible. Like, I know Khani also, we both have kids in the same gan. I also volunteer for L'man Achai, which is an incredible chesed organization, which does so much for all different kinds of people. And that's just one example of the many chesed organizations here, especially in Beit Shemesh. We chose Ramat Beit Shemesh because of our kids, really. We wanted a soft landing for them. We saw that here there was incredible support system and we also, and the Misrad HaKlita and Nefesh B'Nefesh also helped us throughout our entire stay, even till today, because we went through the systems. I mean, things are, the Haredi system, the Dati Leumi system. It's hard sometimes to figure out where you are coming from America, and they really, really, really helped us. And there's just so much tremendous support here. The people here are incredible, and we love the fact that there's such a variety of people here. Like one of my neighbors joked with us and said, Mashiach's going to come from Beit Shemesh because there's just so many different types of people here. And everybody, just is so incredible. And and when we arrived also, we arrived when Ramat Beit Shemesh Gimel was just being built. And now we used to live in Ramat Shiloh, and now we live in Mem Shalosh, and right across the street from us, we are seeing how they're building Ramat Beit Shemesh Hey, Neve Shamir. And it's just incredible to see how just in the short time that we've been here, how much has changed and how much the city has grown and how many more services. And you spoke about the nature. There's so many areas and more things for kids to do and more programs, and it's just incredible. And we're waiting for you guys to come and join us.
Absolutely. And I'm actually so happy to have met you virtually. Sometimes we think that Ramat Beit Shemesh can be a small community, but Orly, you're actually a neighbor of mine, and I haven't yet met you. So this is the first chance that we've had actually to connect, and we're doing this with another 205 people right now. So nice to meet you. I'll meet you Be'ezrat Hashem with the kids in the park on Shabbat. That's where everybody hangs out.
Park. It's an incredible place. It's like, and I heard that they're making a skating park also for the kids. I don't know if that's true or not, but like more and more, the growth is incredible.
Fantastic. And now we'd love to hear from Kenny. If you can please tell us your story and why you think that Beit Shemesh is a good community for Olim.
Okay, so my wife and I, I'll do most of the talking, but my wife and I moved to Ramat Beit Shemesh about 1.5 years ago from Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up in Los Angeles. My wife grew up in Toronto. So we were, definitely not interested in like big city living. We kind of wanted a suburban lifestyle. And I will say that we really found a really wonderful neighborhood in Ramat Shiloh, which, as mentioned, is kind of like at the edge of Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, one of the newer parts of town. And we moved there for a number of reasons, and all of the reasons that we moved here have just been reinforced since we got here. So the first thing is, and it's been mentioned before, I think Connie mentioned it, the centrality of Beit Shemesh to like the rest of the country And like now that we've lived here for about a year and a half, and even though about half our time here we were in Seger, we've really been able to like feel that wow, we're really like in the middle of the country. It's easy access to Yerushalayim, easy access to Tel Aviv, easy access to Modi'in, to Efrat, anywhere we really want to go in the Merkaz of the country. We've got easy access to. Now we bought a car, but like there's plenty of people that you know get around just using the public transportation, and that's great. So the location was like first and foremost the most important thing for us. Also, the affordability was a big deal. We looked at a few other neighborhoods, and despite the fact that thank God, all of the good neighborhoods in Israel are expensive if you want to be in the Americas of the country, but we found that like the home prices were most reasonable both to rent and to buy here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. And we also heard and experienced firsthand, like shout out to Miriam and to Rachel, because we have been beneficiaries big time of the amazing services we have here. We have a son that has special needs. We have two kids that are in a Kita Mekademet, which is like a small classroom environment. And we got it because Miriam and I worked for about 4 months before we made Aliyah in collecting all the documents, making sure they were translated properly, getting our appointment to the Vada Sama, and then if Miriam might remember this, calling me in the middle of the night because the meeting like went awry and then it had to be pushed. It was insane, but like she was really there, you know, holding our hand the whole way. And then even after we got here, one of our sons, like I mentioned, like has special needs, so we had to get him like this documentation in order to get the Bitul Chlumi. It was a whole thing, and Miriam like made sure, and she actually went with my wife to the appointment. I don't even know where they went, somewhere like in Ramleh. And like so the service is like again, we will look at a few other neighborhoods, but no one cared and went definitely beyond the call of duty like the people of Beit Shemesh. So thank you, Miriam, for that. And like really like everything that we were looking for our kids, we had. The schools are extremely Torani in nature, which again, and there's different kinds of schools in terms of like what you're looking for your kids. But we came from a modern Orthodox environment in Cleveland, and while the schools here are very focused on Torah, in Ramat Beit Shemesh specifically, where we live, the level of tzionut is still like off the charts, and that was something that was really important to us. And also in terms of the klita is just so much easier for our kids because there's the English in the community, but there's really only Hebrew at school, except for the Ulpan. The Ulpan, our kids have all benefited from it. Our older kids, and because of this shows you a lot about like, you know, how devoted they are. Officially, you're only supposed to get Ulpan for like a year, but like pretty much because of the segers and because of all the stuff with COVID, pretty much like our kids have benefited from a whole second year of Ulpan, and it's on Zoom and it's in person, and like the area and the schools really partner on making sure that the kids miss the least amount of time possible for schools. We're lucky enough our kids go to Vat Yisrael, and which is the location where all the kids are, at least for our age kids, and so it really worked out for us. And so really like Ramat Beit Shemesh, you know, proved to be everything we really wanted in a neighborhood. I will also, you know, emphasize the beauty of the area. It couldn't be more to what Ellie was talking about. Like there is, like the hills of Ramat Beit Shemesh and Beit Shemesh are where people go hiking throughout the course of the year. And I picked up mountain biking since we made Aliyah. There's an amazing group of bikers that are mostly all American that go on these hills, and it's a great network. It's a great way to exercise, but just even the hiking.
I wanted to add, Kenny, is that there's also an organization for children biking called Gears.
Right. So they have an adult version, which I'm part of, and the ones for kids exactly is it's actually about adventure therapy. So it's not just kef, fun. It's actually really like an important program. But again, like you can do that because like people come from all over the country to ride on the Beit Shemesh hills, and it's for good reason, because the scenery and the views and the challenging and the mix of challenging and easy rides are amazing. But also just like the hiking, like we go every Friday on a hike, and sometimes my kids complain, sometimes even my wife complains, but we have a great time, and it is it's just, again, it's a great area to live. I will say one more thing, is that the city is big enough that you really never have to leave. Um, to like run errands or to do like, for any services that you might need. And that's a big deal because, the farthest you drive in the Beit Shemesh area is 10 to 12 minutes most. And it's nice to have everything in terms of the chugim, in terms of the stores. I think probably a total of twice we had to go to Yerushalayim to take care of something with documentation or like a car check, like almost everything you can do in Beit Shemesh. And again, like not every place that you live has that level of city, but also has the neighborhoods that really feel like a neighborhood, like you would, like what in like America, where like these neighborhoods where people like kind of take care of their own. And that's really what you have here in the different pockets. So
and there are even 4 or 5 ice cream stores.
There's no shortage of ice cream stores, and of course, by extension, no shortage of dentists as well, as
That's
you can
right.
imagine.
That's right.
So
Kenny, I just wanted to say that for those who come, who are able to make it to Israel during this period of the year, it's beautiful how the flowers are blooming, and you can go for a walk on Shabbat, and just see the gorgeous kalaniyot and all the wildflowers. Now it's absolutely stunning. What I'd like to do now is, because we're heading towards the end of our the presentation of our Olim, but I would like to give the floor to Rachel so she can introduce us to the Ulpan and tell us a little bit about it.
Hi everyone. I just want to tell you about our unique Ulpan. What we did is the government gives support for the school, but it's not many hours for each school. What we did, all the public schools get together and they put all the hours, all the help that the Ministry of Education, the state gave, into one basket. And we really give the kids much more Hebrew hours, and not just that. We give the kids also a very rich enrichment program. We have tours, we have parties, we have all kinds of cooking, all kinds of fun classes. So the kid is not just learning Hebrew; it's part of a group that they're all Yolim, so it can be part of something that he knows. Aliyah is a big thing. So when you don't do it by yourself, you have other kids who does it together, and also other families. It's making it much more easy. So.
Okay, Rachel, I want to thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're not able to hear you clearly, so my apologies.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, that's actually much better right now. Okay, so can you about how many students participate in the Ulpan?
Every year is a different thing. We have small classes up to the maximum is 12 kids in a class. We give them 12 hours of Hebrew during the week, and as a class, and then they get individual help. Plus, we have all the, as I said, all the enrichment program that go out through the years. The parents has to pay for it, but it's very symbolic payment. It's not really a lot of money.
How much does it cost?
It costs 100 shekel per a month. It's not for the Hebrew lesson. It's for the whole enrichment program that it's during all the year. We have someone who comes to talk about their feeling in English. We have trips, we have parties, as I said before. We have all kinds of workshops for parents and for the kids. In normal years, parents can join us for all our trips and all our activities. That's it, basically it. What we know that kids who has Ulpan, who is part of our Ulpan, is doing much better and much faster, and they're doing very good in their home classes when they come.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rachel. Toda rabba. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to open up the floor to questions and answers. I see that we have a whole bunch of questions in the Q&A box. For people who are interested in asking, that is the place to put your questions. And one question that I would like to ask is, does a person need Hebrew to have a successful aliyah to Beit Shemesh? Who would like to address that question? Kenny, go for it.
I can address that. My wife has significantly stronger Hebrew than I do. And I'm actually in Ulpan now through Ulpan Linyan. I think my Hebrew is actually pretty poor, and I'm told that I have pretty good Hebrew, which means that there's a lot more people in Ramat Beit Shemesh that have worse Hebrew than me, which indicates to me that you can do well in Ramat Beit Shemesh even without really good Hebrew. And I would say that like almost every store in the Merkaz, at least in Aleph, you can speak English, and every single one of the shop owners speaks it. And for documentation that you get in Hebrew, so you have someone like Miriam, and you send her your like school stuff, and she helps you. Or you have friends, and you go to your neighbors, and you find a token Israeli on the block that can help you. That's really like the story in Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph. I would imagine it's the same probably in Gimel. I can't really speak to the regular Beit Shemesh.
Okay. Okay. What I would like to ask is, and this is not in the Q&A, but I'm putting this question out there. How important is it for your family's klita, your absorption in the community and in choosing a school to understand where you fit religiously, or how you identify yourself? Who would like to take that question? Okay, Khani, go for it.
So I would say it's more important to understand where the school is holding than yourself, because the lines, people often say, are drawn a little differently in Israel. And so what kind of neighborhood you might live in Chutz La'aretz is not necessarily going to define where you place yourself here. So if you see what the values or where they draw the lines of limits or rules are in a given school, then you can then match yourself and say, well, this I can supplement at home, and this is more important to me. I want to make sure they get it in school. And so you don't necessarily have to put yourself into a box, into an Israeli box or into a Ramat Beit Shemesh box. There are a lot of, because there's so many Olim here, there are a lot of people who don't put themselves into the same boxes that are the stereotypical Israeli boxes, which I find really wonderful. So it's more important to learn about the schools you're looking at and learn and have the questions that you want to know about and the values and the rules that you care about. Ask them, find people who go to those schools, who send to those schools, and then think about those options and see what matters most to you.
I just want to add one more thing, if it's okay. Don't feel like you have to send all your kids to one school. I actually have, I've been through many systems. So I have 6 kids in 4 different schools, something like that, I think. So really don't feel like Connie said, you don't have to put yourself in a box. Like it is important to know what your values are. And it is important to realize that the American Haredi is very different from the Israeli Haredi. That is a huge thing to realize. And just to know what's important to you and what values are important to you. And like if Tzionut is an issue, then you not necessarily will want to go into the Haredi system, because there are schools who do celebrate Yom Ha'atzmaut in their own ways, but some of them don't. So you really have to do your homework as to where you feel you belong.
Right. And I'd like to also add is that sometimes it's important to have a vision of where you would like to see the direction of your children, not only in elementary and high school, but post high school. In other words, do you see your child perhaps going into the army or doing Shirut Leumi or going in just to yeshiva? And for that reason, it's important to understand, what your vision is for your child to be able to identify the right school for them. Okay, let's go on to the next question. We had a question about retirees and Beit Shemesh. Is Beit Shemesh a good place for retiree Olim? What are your thoughts?
So if I could respond to that, obviously none of us who are the representatives are retirees, but since I've been running the L'man Achai local organization's welcome committee for the past year or so, I've seen lots and lots of retirees coming. Again, when I arrived and I wasn't as involved in the other people coming, I met all the young people because that was my group of friends and people who we were connected to and kids and stuff like that. But definitely in the last year, there are a very large number of retirees, of people over 50, over 60, people who have grown children. There are a lot of people like that coming. There's one particular organization, I think it's called Experience, offhand, that I could think of, that has programs for people in the age bracket. Do you know more about it, Orly?
Yeah.
Because I can't speak so much about the particular organization. You can share if you know.
I know a lot of people who go there. They have social set outings where they go on like trips together around Beit Shemesh area, like nature and stuff. They have shiurim, they have Rabbi Wagensberg is part of it. They do all different kinds of things. They do programs. It's a huge community here. It's for retirees, absolutely. It's called the Over 60s Club and Experience.
Thank you very much. And also there is a question in the Q&A about accessibility for those who are challenged as far as mobility. Is Beit Shemesh handicapped accessible? How are the buses? Any thoughts on that?
Well, since I travel a lot on the buses, I can say there's definitely improvement. I wouldn't say that 100% all the buses are good, but there's definitely, it's an ongoing thing that they're working on, and you can see that there's improvement. Definitely for offices and official places that you need to go to, there's definitely access. The buses, again, sometimes you could be in the bus stop and a bus will come and it won't have access, but then 10 minutes later, another bus will come and it will have it. So it's definitely something that they keep trying to, upgrade and make it on a much, higher level.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a question about the types of Olim or the affiliations of Olim in the different neighborhoods. So I think that very much in Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph, the community is, we'll call it the Baskin Robbins of Dati. You have all of your different flavors to choose from. You have your modern Orthodox, and you have your Torani, Chardal, which may be the same depending on your outlook. And you have Litvische, and you have Hasidische. That's Ramat Beit Shemesh Aleph. Ramat Beit Shemesh Bet, as we mentioned before, is predominantly Hasidische. And I would say that in Nofei Aviv and Scheinfeld, predominantly the community is modern Orthodox and Chardal. Would anybody like to comment on any other neighborhoods as far as what you feel that the representation of the population is?
I think it would probably require like a full session to really give a proper, a representation of each neighborhood thoroughly. Briefly, the place that we bought on paper was Mishkafayim, which is a variety of ages, a variety of people coming from different countries, not only Anglo-speaking countries. There's more leaning in the Dati Leumi direction over there. Let's think what else. Yeah, Aleph has the biggest mix probably of like Haredi, from the range of Israeli Haredi, which is more intense, you could say, than Anglo, what people would identify as Haredi, through the gamut of like Anglo version of Yeshivish Haredi, to Dati Leumi, modern Orthodox, to also secular, though not as much secular in Aleph. I know somebody who was in Ilpan with me who chose to purposely move to Beit Shemesh proper because she didn't only want, not only did she want religious variety, but she wanted more ethnic variety, and she wants her kids in school with Ethiopians and with Russians, and there's even more variety in Old Beit Shemesh in terms of that.
Fantastic. Yes, Kenny, you wanted to say something?
I would just add, like, to strengthen that point, I think that like it's important to know that if you're considering anywhere in either of the Ramat Beit Shemesh neighborhoods, this was a phrase used to describe it to me, and I think it's astute, is that you can't be allergic to Haredi people if you're anywhere in Ramat Beit Shemesh, even though there's pockets of Dati Leumi communities. The influence of being in a more religious part of Israel, particularly Ramat Beit Shemesh, you really see it everywhere in terms of the in the stores. Like, for example, even if you go into the hardware store, like in the summer, like the women are all covered up in all of like the swimming gear, and like that's not a bad thing, but you should know like that's the kind of environment that you're going into, even if you live in a very Dati Leumi pocket of town. Like that's just an important thing to know, because I do know people who are like, that would be too much for me, that would be overload. And even though I think that they would be great fits in Ramat Beit Shemesh, you just have to like be aware of that. Like my kids walk to the Dati Leumi school, but like we walk by like 17 kollels like on the way. And like that's just something that you have to be aware of if you're moving to Ramat Beit Shemesh. I don't think that's an issue in regular Beit Shemesh. I think that there's that like ethnic diversity that Khani was talking about, but there is not that kind of diversity in Ramat Beit Shemesh. And again, like that makes it Torani wise like a higher level. And that was something that we were looking for in particular, but you just like that particular issue you should know. It's not a bad thing, it's just it's in a reality of the neighborhood.
Right. And I'd also say it very much depends, even in Ramat Beit Shemesh, on what street you live in, and who your neighbors are. So, I mean, I'm American. My wife is Israeli. We speak Hebrew at home. My kids really don't speak English very well. We spend a lot of money on tutors. My next door neighbors are Hebrew speaking, and we are a Dati Leumi family. But we are extremely close with our Haredi neighbors, to the point where, they come over to us, we go over to them, we do things together. It's a wonderful feeling of just togetherness in Beit Shemesh. And I'd like to invite, all of the prospective Olim who are thinking about making Aliyah to Beit Shemesh, to Ramat Beit Shemesh, to be in touch with us. And now I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for participating in today's webinar. And I just wanted to ask if you have any last thoughts. Miriam, anything that you would like to say to all of our participants?
So first of all, I hope that we were able to cover most of the subjects or questions that you had. And if there are more questions, then you are totally welcome to either email me or any other of the project coordinators from the Klita department. We will be happy to answer, to assist. We're here, we're at your service.
Thank you so much. So Kenny, Khani, Orly, and Rachel, I want to thank you so much for sharing today. It's been a pleasure connecting with my new neighbors and my more veteran neighbors in Beit Shemesh. And we look forward to seeing as many of you soon, the participants from today's webinar. We had over 200 people who came to hear us and learn about Beit Shemesh. What I'd like to say again, for those who are looking at making Aliyah within the next 8 to 10 months and have not yet submitted an Aliyah application, now would be the time to go on to the NBN website, nbn.org.il, and to submit an Aliyah application. However, okay, we are doing some maintenance on our website right now. So actually, it would be best if you do it starting from next week and not from today. Okay, thank you so much again. And like I said, we'll be sending out a follow-up email in a day or so that has a recording of this webinar, and we'll have everybody's contact information so you can be in touch with us privately regarding any questions that you have. Okay, I apologize that we didn't get to go through all of the questions in the Q&A. I will stay online for a couple of minutes and to answer as many of them as I can. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Lihitraot.